We saw the kicker for the Indianapolis Colts, Spencer Shrader, go down yesterday with a right knee injury against the Raiders. At the time of the injury, the head coach was asked about an update, and he basically said that it doesn't look good, but he did not have the full update at the time. It looks like today he has in fact come out and said that Shrader unfortunately has suffered an ACL and MCL tear, and he's going to be out for the remainder of the season. In the injury replay, which we will look at in a moment, as the defender came in and made contact, he makes contact with the lateral or the outside portion of Shrader's knee, as well as it looks like he makes a little bit of contact to the back of Shrader's knee. So we'll go over in detail why these two positions will lead to an MCL and an ACL tear, as well as some other structures that could potentially be involved with this injury. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Nick Gallo and I'm a doctor of physical therapy. And with my channel, I take a look at sports injuries and I try to explain them so that they're a little bit easier to understand. I'll also go over the relevant anatomy for those injuries, as well as talk about the PT process. If you enjoy this sort of content and you would like to see more of it, please hit that thumbs up and subscribe to this channel, because I will be making more of these videos in the future regarding sports injuries, rehabilitation, and other physical therapy related content. Also, if you have any comments or questions, please leave those in the comment section below. We see here on the official injury replay that as Shrader again is going to follow through for the kick, that foot just comes back, and then when it makes contact with the ground, we see the defender make contact with his leg. Here's our model of the knee, and so if we look again at that injury, it looks like that as that defender is coming in, he is going to make contact with the side or the lateral portion of the knee. What this is going to do is this is going to create a force going from the side to the middle, also known as lateral to medial. And you can see that as I do that to the model here, it's going to stress the medial structures that are in the knee. The first one and the big one for the sake of this injury is the medial collateral ligament, or the MCL for short. Clinically, this type of force is known as a valgus force at the knee. Anytime somebody is going to get this type of a valgus force, they are at high risk for damaging those medial structures. Then, as we look again at the injury replay, it looks like that not only does he make contact with the outside portion of the knee, it looks like that as Shrader is rotating, he is slightly making contact to the back portion of Shrader's knee. As I put a force on the back portion of the model here, you can see that as I do this, it wants to drive that tibia forward. That is greatly stressing that anterior cruciate ligament, or the ACL, which is located in through here, because one of the major functions of the ACL is to prevent any sort of slipping anteriorly or frontward sliding of the tibia away from the femur. It's also going to, of course, provide that rotational stability at the knee. Not really applicable for this injury here because we are getting a direct force that's going to be stressing the ligament, but it's important to know that those are the two main functions of the ACL. Now, I talked about this briefly in the short form video that I did at the time of the injury because there was a lot of speculation regarding the best and worst case scenarios here based on the injury replay. The other structure that can be involved here, along with the ACL and MCL, is that medial meniscus. This is because it is located again in the medial compartment of the knee, but also that medial meniscus does not move as freely as that lateral meniscus. So the direction of the force and the limited mobility of the medial meniscus is going to put it at risk for injury as well. When all three of these structures are injured, this is something known as a terrible triad injury. At the time of me posting this, we don't know whether or not that medial meniscus is involved here, but it is important to know that not just the ligaments can be damaged in this position, the meniscus can also be implicated as well. Now let's talk about if we suspect somebody has an MCL tear. There is a special test that we can do to essentially test the integrity of the MCL, and it's called a valgus test. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to take the person's knee, we're going to have them like so, and we're going to place a valgus force going through that individual's knee. If this reproduces pain along where the MCL is, as well as if we feel laxity compared to the non-injured side, then we think that the MCL has been damaged here. We do the same type of special testing for the ACL. The gold standard for this is the Lockman's test. And you probably have seen me talk about this in other videos, but you're going to stabilize the person's thigh. We're going to pull on that tibia away from the femur. Also, we are comparing this to the non-injured side, feeling for laxity. If we feel laxity, then we think that the ACL has been injured. The fact that the coach has already reported that Shrader is dealing with ACL and MCL tears, usually when people are reporting this is consistent with grade 3. Grade 3, again, is going to be a full rupture of the affected ligament, and what follows can vary depending on the ligament that has been injured. Now let's discuss the blood supply when it comes to the ligaments here. The MCL actually has a very rich blood supply, and so a lot of times injuries to the MCL can heal naturally and with conservative treatment, just because this blood supply is going to bring nutrients and everything essentially needed so that ligament can heal on its own. The ACL, on the other hand, does not have a very rich blood supply like the MCL. Therefore, when we are talking about an ACL tear, what's going to follow after this is a surgery known as an ACL reconstruction. For that ACL reconstruction, they are going to choose a graft type. So this is going to either be an autograft or a graft that's going to come from the injured person, whether that come from the patellar tendon or the hamstring tendon or some other structure, or it can be something known as an allograft, which is going to come from a cadaver. But it is important to say that sometimes on rare occasions, the MCL can also have surgery. So we'll need to await a little more details regarding this injury to see whether or not he is going to have a multi-ligament surgery here. But he will at least have this ACL reconstruction, which what follows this is going to be a period of time where his knee basically is going to be in a device known as a drop lock brace, where basically we are giving the ligament and the structures that have been operated on the most optimal environment for healing. He may or may not have a weight bearing precaution in this case. It depends on a few factors, but one is definitely if the meniscus has been injured, because if they do something known as a meniscus repair, this will make him not weight bearing for a period of time. But as we progress through the protocol, we start to add in more things when it is appropriate, finally ending with sport-specific movements. The entire process can take anywhere from about 9 to 12 months, depending on how he progresses with the rehab. So if I happen to hear any more updates regarding Spencer Shrader, I'll be sure to update everybody in the comment section. Also, if you happen to hear anything, please feel free to update us as well. So unfortunately, it looks like a long road to recovery for Spencer Shrader and the Colts. Is going to include a very extensive rehab process and just bad luck all around on this one. Thank you so much again for tuning into my video. If you enjoy this content, I'm going to go ahead and link one of my playlists so that you can watch some of the videos that I've talked about in the past. Thank you so much again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.